Welcome to the Dogon podcast. This is going to be a good episode.
Oh yeah,
I can feel it. There's a good energy in the air, and it's really just this constant push forward regardless of what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we all have things in our lives. We all have thoughts in our heads that stop us from going in the direction that we know we should be.
Right.
And that's kind of, what I think we should talk about today is taking action and continuing down the right road in spite of what's going on.
Yeah.
And how you feel.
And I mean, recently for me, it's been pretty rough. If anybody in my family's watching, they know what's going on. But it's been very, very dark for me in my head. But I think it's actually made me a lot stronger in the fact that I want to keep going and I need to keep pushing for the people that are still alive,
Yep. Yeah, the people that are still fighting, because, we have a tendency to kind of get caught up in that dark or sorrowful thoughts or woe is me type of thoughts, even when they're valid. I'm not saying like they're not valid. Like usually when you feel that way, there's reason and good reason that you do feel that way, and that's when it's the hardest, because it's like your behavior and feelings are justified. So then you're like, it's easy to just stew in it or to just go down the negative path in that thought process. And
I've done that plenty of times in my life, but
same here.
It's just a lot easier to go the other way and just stay strong and keep going.
Yeah, like a speaker one time, I heard him say, somebody was saying like, oh, well, there was something wrong with one of their kids or something. It was pretty serious. And he was like, are you going to let that be your reason why you can't, or are you going to let that be the reason why you did?
Right.
And I was like, man, that's powerful. Like that's hard to swallow in that moment, but man.
And I don't know if I want to say it, but I have been reading the Bible a little more. I've been getting a little more religious. I'm embarrassed to say it, but I do kind of start to believe a little bit.
That's how you know it's true and honest, because he's like, I don't know if I want to say it.
I wouldn't be embarrassed otherwise.
Yeah, it's, it's because there's all these stigmas and aspects that are associated with the Bible and with Christianity and with religion in general that people are like, no, I'm not like that. And so you feel like this need to be like, this makes me feel a certain way, or I get a certain positive response from this, but I don't believe all that crazy stuff, and I think that's kind of like something that everyone walks down on their journey of like who made all of this and who is in charge of all of this and
I think all of that is incredibly interesting to me.
Yep.
Like, I don't know, I've always thought about that in my life, and I guess I've never thought, I don't know, all of the grandiose fucking Catholic priests and fucking, oh, you have to do this or you're gonna go to hell, or all that bullshit. I don't like it. It's not real in my opinion. It's not, I mean, believe what you want to believe, but all that shit is fake. I believe whatever the Bible says specifically.
Yeah. And I mean, specifically too, there's aspects of the Bible that people don't understand that are like, there's old law that was like before really civilization was created, where they were like, they had laws in place and certain things that they were like, God says to do this, because like, if you didn't do that, like you could lose the entire town to a sickness, to like a skin disease, everybody would die.
Right.
And so they're like, there was rules about like, people had to leave the town if they had certain sickness, if they were, if they had some type of STD, they weren't allowed to touch anybody, or anything they sat on had to be clean. Like it was all these weird rules that people were like, this sounds crazy. And it's like, well, if you look at it from a standpoint of like an early civilization trying to establish its place, itself in a land and create a society, it was like they came up with these rules, and they acknowledged these rules that were meant to keep people from like mass dying or, some type of mass uproar. That's why even certain aspects of it, they were like, follow the leaders that are put in place, because God is the one who put them in place. And it's like, okay, sometimes I can see that's right, but actually all the time it's right, but it's like, doesn't mean that they're always right. But it was set up that way so that society could develop.
Yeah.
You had to have some type of hierarchy trust, or else it would have been craziness all the time.
Oh yeah.
But then things developed, things changed, and people are like, they want to hold on to these ancient things of absolute, and it's like, no, that's not how it is. I don't know. But that's funny. That's funny. You're like, I'm embarrassed to say, but
Yeah, I mean,
well, you started with a good spot. You started with Proverbs, and there's not anybody who can argue with Proverbs.
I know,
mean,
those are all just factual. Well, I mean, most of them, some of them are a little controversial, but
yeah, but there's still like matter of fact statements.
Right.
You know, there's not really emotion put in them, or you know, like
Right.
And it was written by a guy who was known as a sorcerer and had a ring that he controlled demons with. You know,
Right.
so most people, they don't even know what's in the Bible. You know what I mean? It's like
that's
crazy,
true. A lot
crazy
of people
stuff.
don't even know.
But yeah, and then other people will twist words in there to use it for their benefit, you know, on good and bad, both sides. You know, trust me, I've been the victim of Bible thumpers and people who just try to shove it down your throat.
Yeah.
And that is just not cool.
I'm not about that either.
No, I'm about the cool stuff of it, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
But that's cool, and that's one thing that, you know, when we're, you know, regardless of how you feel about something, to be able to find value and be honest with yourself in that moment, I think it ties into perfectly what we're talking about here today, because it's like, you know, if Triston just would have had like this absolute judgment and been like, no, I know how everybody who reads the Bible, or I know how everybody who is Christian is, I'm not going to have any part of that. He may
And
not
that's
have.
not how I think about really anything. I have more of an open mind, I feel like.
Amen. And that's important to have. And even if it's in something where you're like an absolute against it, say, this is always a great topic to bring up, is politics. You know, sometimes people will be like, no, I don't like anything from that person. And it's like,
Yeah, which is, I mean, well, you have to kind of dissect what they actually believe, and if you don't know anything about them, how are you going to know what they fucking are going to run for or impose as whatever, you know?
yeah. And just to like make a blanket statement and a generalization and then live in that is like a false reality.
And a lot
And
of
it's-
people do that, but I don't know.
you can't do that, because if you do, then you're just, you put yourself in like echo chambers, and you only surround yourself with people who agree with you.
Yeah.
And that's a dangerous place to be in. You know, that's how Hillary Clinton lost. You know, nothing against anybody, but the Hillary Clinton supporters back in during that election were so certain that she was going to win, and that there's no way the orange man could get in the White House. There's no way. Like, there's no way. Like, everybody said it. It's not going to happen. And then he did. And I mean, I don't know, that those are some of my favorite videos ever.
There's no way the orange man can get in there.
Is like when they show these people, like once it was announced, like they're just sitting there like they don't even know what to do. They did not have it in their mind that it was a possibility.
I know, they were shocked.
Yeah, and it's like, that's a dangerous place to live, you know, because that type of cognitive dissonance that you experience, where like cognitive dissonance is where like your belief is this is an absolute truth and you know it inside and out, and then you're presented with reality that contradicts that, and you have to go through this unraveling process of like everything you know is absolute is all of a sudden completely opposite.
Right.
And it's a very uncomfortable experience to go through, because it's like, you know, it's basically you dissecting and identifying that you were completely wrong in an area. You know, maybe it's just perspective. Maybe you're not wrong on a principle format, or maybe you're not, you know, wrong when it comes to like the actual facts of it, but like the way you thought it was going to be, you know, not what it was.
Right. And that can be shocking.
Yes, it can. And, you know, one of the ways to take action in spite of how you feel, and one of the ways to move forward regardless of that feeling is, and this might be a little bit more for the men. I know, you know, I'm not trying to be sexist by any means, but, you know, like one thing that I love when I hear on motivational, you know, books or motivational audios like Motiversity is when gentlemen say, I get up and I do what I decided I'm going to do, regardless of how I feel. And to the point where I don't, like some of these guys, and I've started to do this, I don't even check in with myself about how I feel. There's no in the morning like, oh, I don't really feel like running. It's I get up, I'm running.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like I get up, I do my routine. It's not like, oh, I don't want to do my routine. I don't want to do this, or, you know, I don't want to cook today. It's like, no, I decided that's what I'm doing, and that's what I do regardless of how I feel.
There you go.
You know, and I think that's a powerful thing to focus on, is remove that inner dialogue of caring about how you feel about doing something you know you should.
Eventually, it makes it a lot easier to just do it.
Oh yeah, because you program yourself that when your mind says go, you go.
Yeah.
You know, and that is, to me, one of the most powerful things you can work on is that personal discipline.
Yeah.
You know, that's a big deal. And it's hard. And it's hard to do when you're, you know, down in the dumps, or when you're getting burned out by other stuff, or when you're going through something really emotional or difficult. It's like, it's even more taxing on you. But that's also a point in time where when you focus on that, the transformation is even more powerful.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because it's like, you know that you're hurting, you know that you're not at your best, and you're still pushing. You know, winners play hurt. Period. They get hurt in a game. They want to stay out there.
Yeah.
You know, losers are like, oh, I'm hurting. I need to sit down. You know,
It's like, no, I have a broken arm, but I still want to keep going.
Amen. You know, like I kept going. I dislocated my thumb one time in a game. I was like, no, put me back out there, dude. I'm getting to play. This is sweet. I love it. Boom. You know, and it's just like, you have to develop that toughness to not consult the way you feel. You know, like, oh, I don't feel like this, or oh, I feel bad. You know, it's like, no, that's irrelevant. You know,
sometimes physically that matters, like if you're having a heart attack or something.
Yeah, I mean, in extreme situations. And of course, you got to listen to your body. You know, like I broke my ankle, and I couldn't run for like literally 3 weeks, coming on 4 weeks almost now. I mean, that's insane. You know, and I finally ran this morning, and I didn't run my normal distance because about halfway into it, I started to feel this pain right where my ankle was hurt. So I had to listen to my body and be like, no, I can't do that. I can't push myself to the point of where I'm going to have an injury that's going to set me back even further.
Yeah.
So I need to be smart. I need to listen to myself, and you know, but that's like a double-edged sword, and it's a slight edge, because you know, you have to find, because like when it comes to like muscle tear and you're like doing push-ups or pull-ups, you can't stop when it hurts, you know.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you can't, like, if you're working out and you stop when it starts to hurt, then you haven't worked out yet. You only make advancement after point of failure and after point of exhaustion in your muscles. So like, people think like they do like 5 pull-ups and they feel a little burn. You didn't do anything. You didn't do a single thing yet. You know, like, you have to, it's the workout after that burn point, after that failure point, that actually improves and increases your muscle strength.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of people, like, you can't run from pain. You can't run from discomfort. You have to know when it's something you need to listen to and when it's something you need to push past.
Yeah.
And that's hard sometimes to determine, but, you know, there's very few people out there, you know, in the grand scheme of things. If you don't have any type of physical disability, like an actual physical disability, everything else is mental, you know, like everything else. Like, if you feel like, oh, I can't do this, but other humans can do that, you're lying to yourself, and you're creating a false fabricated reality that you can feel safer in and justify not doing.
I'd say at least 90% of people can do what all people can do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, really, if you really want to go there, it probably is 100% regardless of disability.
Probably.
You know?
I mean, if they really wanted to do something, they can definitely do it.
Right? I mean, it's kind of weird. It's weird to think about, but it's like, you know,
it might be harder for that person, but they can do it.
I mean, I've met a guy, no arms, no legs, champion wrestler.
Yeah, I mean, I knew a guy, he wasn't very sound in the head very much, but he was kind of going down a terrible path of, well, I don't know, he was about to kill himself, and I actually convinced him to not do that, and he moved away to Colorado, and now he's doing much better. He was homeless for a while there, he got a job, he got all this stuff, but I would talk to him every once in a while. I was like his only friend that he would be able to talk to, and we would just ring every once in a while, and he was like, thank you, man, you know, I don't feel so lonely anymore. And I was like, hell yeah, if I can save this one person. I mean, I don't know what our topic was, but I kind of got offhand.
No, hey, man.
I was telling this story, but I don't know, that was powerful for me, and I feel like I saved that man's life.
Yeah, you know, and you never know the impact that you have on somebody.
Yeah.
You know,
James, if you're watching this, please reach out.
Yeah, James.
I don't have your number anymore, man.
Oh, man. Yeah, hopefully James gets back in touch, because those types of relationships are awesome. You know, and finding that connection.
Again, please.
Awesome. Yeah, there's been a couple of people that I didn't even know in my life that I've just been like, in a moment, I just like sent them a text, or I showed up somewhere that they said they were doing something or trying to launch something new, and I showed up, or I said hi, or I interacted, and I didn't know how big of a deal that was to them until later, you know. And I thought it was insignificant. Like, I almost didn't go to this one guy's launch of his new restaurant, you know, and, you know, the fact that, like, he sent me a message weeks later, and he was like, man, I still can't believe that you came on that day. And I was like, what the, like, that didn't even mean, I didn't think that meant anything, but it meant a lot to him.
Yeah, it meant a lot to him, because, you know, he was launching his new restaurant.
Yeah, right? And it's like, you know, sometimes it's hard to understand the impact of others and that you have on others, unless it's something that is brought into the open. You know, like if it's just normal day life, like I always think about the movie It's a Wonderful Life. If you like that movie, no, I'm just kidding. But I don't like that movie. I've always been told, oh, Alex, you know, you are George Bailey. You know, you help everybody make their dreams happen. You're always trying to look out for everybody. You're always trying to make sure that everyone gets what they want, you know, is validated in what they do. If you have a project going, you identify each individual person and let them know that they're a part of it. Like they're making this happen. And the whole movie, if you've never seen it, it's like he's helping all these people his whole life. And then like he gets to a point where he just like, he hates his life. And he's going to jump off this bridge. Yeah. And he's going to be like, I'm done. And then Clarence, this angel, shows up and is like, hey, let me show you everything that you did. Let me show you what it would be like if you didn't do all this for these people. And he takes him through all this stuff and like shows him, and it's actually like a beautiful thing. Like he helped all these people, and everything would be crazy if it wasn't for him. And in the end, like all the people that he ever helped throughout his life came back together and helped him, you know, like accomplish his dream that he wanted. And it was like, oh, wonderful. And you know, and the reason I dislike that is because I don't have a clearance. I'm not going to be on a bridge jumping off by any means, unless it's like into some water and I'm going to do it a few times. It might be kind of fun, because that shit's a blast. You know, that's because of my little brother Josh. If you're watching, dude, he would like, if there was a bridge you could jump off, he was jumping off it. So he kind of inspired me in a lot of ways to, like, when I'd see a bridge, be like, oh man, I should jump off that. And it's fun. The times I've done it, it's like, that's awesome. Like, but he'll go way higher. I mean, I don't know. And there was this one spot that he would jump. You have to jump like right here, or else you'll like hit this metal stuff, like insane. And he would do it constantly. I was like, geez, what Pete's. But yeah, it really, you know, sometimes it's hard to keep, you know, your resolve when you're trying to move forward, when you're trying to do something, if you don't have that vision that Angel showed George Bailey in the movie of all the positive that you've done in your life, you know. And sometimes people don't reach out and tell you that kind of stuff, so sometimes it's hard to know. And the reason I, you know, didn't like that movie is because I don't expect anybody from my past to come back and help my dreams come true. Like, no. And I don't think that's very realistic how that movie went, because in most people's lives, they don't have a clearance when they're on the bridge. Yeah. You know, your friend did. He had you know, I mean, I've been there for a couple, you've been there for a couple people, but most people really don't have that clearance, that angel that's going to walk them through and show them, no, look, you really did make a big positive difference in this world. Yeah. And, you know, so that always kind of bugged me. And, you know, and I was always like, I don't want anybody coming back to help make my dream, you know, like that's not, why can't everybody just have like a life that they enjoy that doesn't lead them to being on a bridge? Yeah. You know, and that was a hard thing for me to tackle and to swallow when I was younger. I had, you know, a lot of depression and sad feelings that I, at first, you know, up until I was like 20, 21, I didn't believe in depression. I would always say depression is anger without enthusiasm. Either get excited about something and actually show some anger, or fucking get over it. I was like, I don't give a fuck. Because like in my life, everything went. Whatever I touched turned to gold. Whatever I did was perfect. Whatever I wanted to do, I was able to do quicker than anybody else. Like, it was insane. Like, I started at Quicken Loans and was, you know, a senior mortgage banker and then an executive mortgage banker before I was 21 years old. You know, I mean, I was making big money. I was doing well. And then I got into corporate training, my own business. Like, things just went well. And then it was just like one day that switched, and it was just
one
like
day it was just like
nothing went well.
Shit fire.
Yeah, just like you know, a dumpster fire rolling downhill towards a school. You know, like, I mean, it was just bad. It was like, what are we gonna do? You know, but I learned to just kind of live in that mode and in that feeling, and not judge myself and not be upset about it, and just understand that, you know, this is a season in life, and just like anything, this too shall pass. Yes. You know, and that's really one of the main things that, going back to what Triston said in the beginning, when you know, reading the Bible more in Proverbs, and that's by Solomon. You know, there was a time where we've talked about this before, Solomon's ring, where, you know, he wears a ring that says, you know, this too shall pass, and that's for good things and for bad things. Right. You know, so sometimes you just got to wait it out. You got to wait for that season, you know, to change in your life, and then, you know, things are going to kind of go in a different direction. Right. And that's really just how you push forward, is you understand that nothing is permanent. Nothing is permanent in this world. So the permanence, once you realize that you're not permanently stuck in this negative spot, just get ready for the next ray of sunshine, the next beautiful day. Yep. It's coming.
Sometimes whatever's going on is going to bog you down, but, you know, I don't know, just keep your head held high, because that's what I'm trying to do.
Yep. And I don't know the guy's name, but he always says, like, if you fall down, try to land on your back. because if you can look up, you can get up. And I'm like, oh man, I like that. Like, you know, because first you can turn your head, then you can raise your legs. You know what I mean? Like, and you know, you go where you focus. And so if you're always focused on the doom and gloom, you're going to go to the doom and gloom. But if you learn to focus on the positive, even in the middle of the dumpster fire downhill heading towards the school, if you can find the moment in there that you can feel okay, that you can feel confident in, then you can usually take charge of the situation, at least mitigate some of the negative that's going to come towards you. But don't fight off negative situations or troubling situations in your life. Recognize those are opportunities to transform you quicker than an elongated period of just you reading something or thinking about things differently and then slowly, gradually changing. Like when you go through a shocking negative experience, it usually cuts away a large part of you.
Yeah.
You know, like just knocks it, like look at yourself as like a statue being chiseled. And when you're going through a difficult time, it's like some big chunks are getting popped off of you as you're being made into this perfect sculpture. And it's like you have to be ready for those big chunks to drop. We like to hold on to everything that we are, but that's not really who we are. And we got to chisel down to the core of who we are.
I felt pretty physically drained whenever that event happened.
Yeah, you know, but I mean, that stuff happens, you know, and to feel that physical drain and then to feel that replenishment. And a lot of times you feel that replenishment previous to something good happening in your life. Like you just naturally start to build yourself back up. Like, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be able to do this. And it's powerful that a lot of times you're like, oh yeah, but then this good thing happened and that's really what, and it's like, no, you were already on that way. You're already focusing on good things. And that's why that good thing came. That's why that change happened in your life. You know, but yeah, so I don't know. That's just my thoughts, you know, and Tristan's thoughts as well when it comes to, you know, staying focused and, you know, really regardless of what's going on around you, how to rise above that. Yeah. And it's not going to be pretty. Don't expect it to be simple, easy.
Yeah, sometimes you don't do it perfectly, but you know what? You tried.
Amen. That's all that matters.
There you go. See you later.